Busted, it's 2 o'clock in the morning, where you been? Baby, let me get right to it. I was with my girlfriend, you a lie. I called Keisha and Tanya and they were both at home. Wait a minute. He called his girlfriends and they just gave her up. They didn't know it. That's fucked up. You supposed to... For me, I would never want to be included in nobody's drama, but I don't know if I would just give her up. Yeah. I called Keisha and Tanya, they were both at home. But I wouldn't say no. I'm telling you, now she was with her, asked me to stay with her. Why didn't you just pick up the phone and call me? I was gonna do that, but it slipped my mind. I'm sorry, but I'm telling you the truth. What you coming in at too? You busted, 'cause you busted. Why you at it? Call a cab. It's obvious you played around, 'cause you busted. Go upstairs and get your shit and get up out of here now. Tell me, where am I supposed to go from here? Franklin Riley. That is Ronald Isley, written by R. Kelly, Busted. And that song came to mind because that's what I'm going to be talking about today. Infidelity. Whoo. So yesterday, y'all know I like my Tubi, right? I got Netflix, but I'm starting to watch Tubi again, right? So I wanted to talk about 3 movies. 2 of them is the same, of Long Island Lolita. Now, we all know about that, and I don't know if I talked about it on my channel before, but I was like, let's talk about it now. In a movie called, it's actually 3 movies of the Long Island Lolita. It's The Girl from Charmed. I don't know if y'all remember the one with dark hair, not Shannon, but the other one. And Drew Barrymore and another girl that's not famous was in it, playing the part of Amy Fisher. Now, Amy Fisher was a 16-year-old girl, and then at the time of the crime, she was 17, and she shot her boyfriend's wife. And I wanted to talk a little bit about that because I personally never understood confronting the woman. I think I told y'all about the guy who recently, well, he passed away 8 years ago, but I found out he passed away recently. He had a girlfriend, which I don't really know if she was his girlfriend. He denied her. But she had contacted me, and I was like, you ain't got nothing to worry about, because I never got physical with him, right? Because he was pretty mean to me, you know. I was paying for all the dates. I let him borrow money that he never paid back. He would do disappearing acts on me. So by no means was I going to sleep with him, and somebody's treating me like that. He would ignore phone calls and text messages. Like, he was just mean, just overall mean to me. And so I never slept with him. And when she contacted me, I was like, okay, why are you hitting me up? And I went through that a few times where a female was to hit me up, and I'm like, I think that's just the dumbest thing. Me personally, I would never do that, you know, because it's like, if I need to find something out, I just gotta look at the receipts. You don't even have to ask the dude. You could look on social media. Back then they didn't have social media, but you know, Amy was wrong for approaching the wife. 100%. It's like, that's not gonna make him want to be with you. If anything, that's gonna, you know, make their relationship stronger. Like, cause that's what happened. So she went to jail because that's attempted murder. And that's another thing I wanted to talk about. Like, our justice system is so retarded that the girl only got 6 years. And that's what I wanted to talk about. Comment, like, and subscribe. Joey Butterfucco was the Long Island man who, he was 36 and the girl was 16. Then she turned 17, and he was married with kids. And a lot of people feel like it was his fault, that he manipulated her. I believe, yes, he did obviously mess with her, but he did not tell her to do that, to shoot his wife. He did not. The gun that was supplied was from her friend. She actually paid somebody $600. They wouldn't do it, so she ended up doing it. It was all on her. That I do believe. And I feel like she should have been in jail for way longer, at least 25 years. The lady didn't die, so you can't put her in jail for life, but she should have got way more than 6 years. I think the jury looked at her age and they just assumed, oh, she was a child. No, she knew damn well what she was doing when she was doing it. Is he wrong too? Yes. The only thing he's guilty of is sleeping with a minor and cheating. But that doesn't mean he told her to shoot his wife. I don't believe he ever told her to do that, for the simple fact he never told Amy Fisher he was going to leave his wife, right? He never said that to her. He always made sure he took her to hotels. He was very discreet. He took her out on a date maybe once or twice, but it's not like he made all these promises. He didn't make no promises at all. So for her to take it upon herself and go shoot his wife, it was just so far-fetched, and it just shows that she had the issue. She had the mental illness. She had the problem. And then they show in the movie where she then comes from Joey to then, because he tells her, you need to go to the gym, you know, whatever. And she goes to the gym and she starts messing with a guy who has a family. He wasn't married, but, you know, he was living with his girlfriend. They had a baby. So she obviously had an issue with messing with people who got families. You know, it's on her. Like, you can't put it on them. Men are going to do what they're going to do, right? And that's another thing I wanted to ask. Do you think men can help it? I think I stated in a previous video that men have two heads, right? So a lot of times I feel like they are conflicted. A part of them wants to be faithful, but they have sexual desires that they cannot control. I really feel that, like, and women know this and they do what they do. It takes two, true, but I think that if women was to stop entertaining these men, then they would have nobody to fuck, and it's that simple, right? So yeah, Mary Jo Butterfucco, she remained married to him because who wants to believe that their husband cheated on them with a child? Some people might say, oh, she was stupid, whatever. It's not that she was stupid. It's who wants to believe that about their husband? You know, this wasn't a guy that she just randomly met and married. This was her high school sweetheart. She knew him they went to Massapequa High School together in Long Island. They got married, I think, shortly after. They had kids late, though, because, like, the kids were, like, little when she got shot. So they waited a while before they had kids. But, you know, they got married. This is the love of her life. I wouldn't want to believe it either, you know. And then on top of that, she was not no plain Jane. I wanted to point that out. She was not no plain Jane. It's not like she was one of those pretty girls that lost her looks in her... No, this was a 36-year-old beautiful woman. Beautiful woman. He cheated on her because he nasty. You know, having one woman wasn't enough for him. Yeah, I got me some cereal I wanted to eat right quick. I just wanted to do a little commercial, little advertise. Yeah. Frosted mini wheats. This shit is good. This is good. And y'all know I work with kids. I work with kindergarten. And the cereal that they have is normally like Cheerios, which I started eating the strawberry. It's like strawberry flavored. But I started eating Wheaties, and I'm like, oh, these are pretty good. I never liked it as a child. But then when I was went grocery shopping Thursday, I saw how they have strawberry wholesome wheat. And I love strawberry, and I love the Wheaties, so this is good. Frosted mini wheats. Yeah, so $8. I didn't even know. I didn't even realize a box of cereal was $8, y'all. Like, oh my God. It's crazy. Like, I didn't even buy that much groceries, and it came up to $300. Like, it's really crazy out here. Like, But the Lord provides, right? But back to the topic of infidelity. So with Joey Butterfucco, Mary Jo and Joey, they met in high school at Massapequa High School. Those of y'all from New York and you know a little bit about Long Island. Long Island has a part of it called Massapequa. I remember going there for my uniform when I was in high school, and I don't remember the demographics, but when I looked it up, it's 91% white. So I'm like, wow. I never really noticed the demographics when I was there. I just went there one time to get a blazer. And yeah, it's white. And Butterfucco, they obviously are Italian. Very Italian. And yeah, it's just crazy that that happened. And I wanted to ask my ladies out there, like, what would you do if your husband, I'm not talking about somebody you casually dating, whatever. I'm talking about long-term relationship. You're in love with him. You think he's in love with you. You guys are planning a future together. And when I say future, like you plan on getting married, living with a man don't even mean anything anymore. Because a lot of men are homeless and they just want a place to stay. But if he legit, you guys possibly have children, and even having kids don't mean nothing. But you know in your heart that this is a real relationship. You guys are planning a future together or have a future together. You guys are engaged or thinking about getting engaged. How would you feel if he cheated on you with a child? I think that's where comes in the betrayal, because let's be honest, most men after 10, 15 years of being with you, they're going to cheat. Even if they only with you a year or two, they're going to cheat. That's just the realities of life. Not saying all men are cheaters, but most men are. Let's just keeping it a buck. They are. For me, it's not about the infidelity. It's about you lied so hard. So Joey could have easily came clean and said, yeah, I messed with this girl and XYZ. He denied sleeping with her, first of all. And then she was a kid, and he knew she was a kid. You know, this was like a sick dude. But back then it was acceptable. Back then it wasn't looked down upon for a grown man to have an affair with a teen, right? Because a lot of teens was doing it. I remember, I think I told y'all I was in a wedding and my friend was 20. Her husband was at least 25, 26. So back then it wasn't, it wasn't really looked down upon if you were a teenager dating a grown man. It was kind of accepted. It was a girl in my church. She was 15 and a guy, well, they was just having sex. They didn't really go out on dates. But anyway, he was 23. She was 15. And nobody in the church cared about that. They didn't look at the age. They didn't care. Back then people legit didn't care. And we're talking about the 2000s. Like, this is 2007 I'm talking about. 2008. Not that long ago. Less than 20 years ago. So times have changed, with the R. Kelly Me Too movement. Now, if a teenager is dating an older guy, it's kind of like ill, da-da-da. But back then, it was not ill. It was accepted, Even a coworker of mine back in 2008, we had a very brief affair. And he actually left me for a high school girl. And no one really looked down on him. It was like one or two people that was like, what? But for the most part, we were 20 and 19 years old, and the girl that he left me for was 16. So the age difference wasn't that bad, but still, back then it was acceptable for a guy that's 20 or 21 to be dating a teenage. Like, it wasn't like a bad thing, you know. And even the girl from my church, she was 15, the dude was 23. Now that's kind of a that's 8 years. You know, that's kind of a big deal. But again, back then, you know, and he know he was wrong for that, because it's like 23, and it just shows the maturity of some men is not there. It's not. It's because in their mind, like they said about R. Kelly, mentally he was 14, 15 years old. Though he was in his late 20s, mentally he was 14, 15, and that's why he wanted to be around kids, because he was still a kid himself. And it's really that simple, you know. When I was in my 20s, I did not want to be around teenagers. Hell, when I was 18, I was not hanging around 17-year-olds. I was not. You know, when I was working and in college, that's the crowd I was around. You know, somebody my own age or older. You know, that's how I've always been. And now that I'm in my 30s, I don't mind hanging around somebody in their 20s, but you have to be mature. Like, my youngest friend that I have is 30. She's mature, you know. But you can't be somebody that's immature, regardless of how old you are. You know, because you got people my age that are immature, you know. Yeah, so the question lies, you know, why did he choose to have an affair with a kid? What is it about? You know, is it really the sex? Because at 16, 17, what do you know about sex? What do you know about orgasms? And though, you know, some girls might be experienced, but, you know, is it the teaching somebody type of it? Is it like a controlled thing? And Mary Jo Butterfucco, she actually filed for divorce many years later, came out with a book, and realized he was a sociopath. Because a sociopath will have you thinking you're crazy. A sociopath will sit there and say he never even knew Amy. You know, he'll say things like they never slept together. You got some men that will go as far as to say they never even met. Oh, I don't even know her. Like on Maury, they be like, I don't even know her. We never slept together. And then he's the father. How you the father? Y'all never slept together. Immaculate conception. And even after the results on Maury, I don't know. It's wrong. And they really do believe it. And that's the scariest type of a liar. Is a delusional person. Is the person who really believes their own lies. Those type of liars are dangerous. They really are. Because they could commit a whole crime and deny it. And believe that they had no parts of it. You know. The other movie the movie that they have for Amy Fisher, the first movie with the Charm Girl, they kind of portray her as like the villain, and I didn't really like that. Like, even though yes, it was her fault and she chose to shoot the lady, I do believe he did manipulate her a little bit. Although, you know, because at the end of the day, she was a kid, and he knew that. You know, she came from a broken home. She had 2 parents in the household, but she didn't really get along with them. She didn't really have much friends. Like, she had friends, but it wasn't enough. There's a scene in the movie where he tells her, get a life. And it's true. She had too much time on her hands. That's how she was able to spend all that time with him. If she had more structure in her life, then it would be no time for him. You know, and that's what it boils down to. Like, I can't stress that enough. If you have kids, I don't care if they're 17. Make sure they're busy doing something. Whether if it's activities in school, church, something. Because if they're just idle and they just go to school is not enough to keep most kids busy. They have to be doing something outside of school. So I can't stress that enough. Like, keep your kids busy. She was working and then she quit. So then that's why she had all that time on her hands. And when he went and pick up, or when he wasn't around, she was bored. That's what it really boils down to. She was bored. She had all this time on her hands, and she had a car. Now, having a car at a young age is not a bad thing, but that's what led her to Joey Butterfucco. If she didn't have a car, I don't think she would have ever met him, because they met because he had a mechanic shop, right? He had an auto shop. So when her car needed fixing, she went to him, and him being the type of man he is, he let her hang around, And the parents knew it. They knew in their heart something was going on, but they both denied it. So they kind of left it alone. But, yeah, it's unfortunate because I'm sure, Amy Fisher wasn't the only one that was seduced and lured by Joey, and just guys like that in general. Guys who have car washes or anything, and young teenage girls from the suburbs come to them because they need something fixed or whatever. So they kind of use their business to lure young girls type stuff, Yeah, so Butterfucco was obviously a manipulator, mastermind, all that. And there's actually a video of them holding hands years and years later. And she's in like her 30s and he's like in his... Because he's the same age as my parents, ironically. 68 years. She's born in 1956. She was born in 1974. And he's the same sign as me. Pisces men really are the worst. I think I said that in a previous video. His birthday is March 11th, and oh my gosh, like, go figure. But, yeah, so that's the question of the day. Can men help it? Now, the movie The Loft. Oh, this movie was so good. Y'all have to see The Loft. If you don't watch nothing else today or whatever, put that in y'all calendar and itinerary. You have to see The Loft, As far as the Butterfucco thing, the movie was okay, but the story is crazy. Like, they could have had a better movie, better actors, but this movie, The Loft, is lit. So, it's about 5 men. They're all professional men. 2 of them are half-brothers. 1 of them is a shrink. Their other occupations I forget, but 1 of them is a shrink. And his mistress is a prostitute. He starts to catch feelings, and he tells her in a scene, like, hey, I think I'm falling in love with you. She's like, no, you have your... She's smart. She's like, no, you have your family, da-da-da-da. So she tells him, like, yo, I'm a whore. I'm a prostitute. Like, you can't be having feelings for me. Like, it's not right, And plus, she didn't believe him because he was married with children. So she's not setting herself up for failure. But come to find out, the reason why she was rejecting him is because one of his friends was sleeping with her. Now, I don't understand that because this was his side chick. This was someone that he was just having sex with. But when he found out, so it's 5 guys and that's friends, right? One of them starts to betray everybody, and how he does it is he's the one that is the perfect one. He don't cheat on his wife, but he set up video footage in the loft where he was watching everybody cheat on their wives. Basically like a porno, like he was watching them have sex with these women. And the detective, she was kind of on to him, like, were you jealous of the women? He's like, I don't need to be jealous. I got a wife at home and I'm not trying to cheat. She's like, no, the women. Like, so basically he was attracted to one of his homeboys, but he wanted her too. So basically what happened was when she rejected him, he killed her. The nerd guy. And it was just funny because he was the one. This movie, I couldn't have known that, like, some movies are very predictable. This was very unpredictable. So it was just funny how, there was so many twists and turns. And the quiet dude that was faithful, he actually wanted to cheat, but the girl turned him down. And that's what pissed him off. And he killed her and made it look like a suicide. He wrote the note. It was crazy because when you first watch it, that's what it looks like. It looked like the girl committed suicide because first of all, her head is face down. So, and she's chained up. So it's like she could have done it herself. I'm thinking it was a suicide. And they in the room for the majority of the movie. And this used to be a play too. And it was just very well written. And basically, the friend who slept with her, he also slept with somebody's little sister, and he slept with the fat boy's wife. So they was all angry at him because he was sleeping with their people, you know. And that's another thing, another question I wanted to raise up is, why do men get upset? Like, in that case, he had feelings for her, but for the most part, most men don't really have feelings for their side chicks. Some of them do. I feel like it's 50-50. So even when a dude don't like a chick, he'll get mad that his friend smashed her. I never understood that. Like, I'm not the type of female to be sleeping with people's friend, but I know chicks who have, and they will get so angry. They don't want the girl, but if they see that girl is with one of their friends or another guy, they get so upset. So it was just funny, like, the guy, he did have feelings for her, but she told you she was a whore. Like, literally, she's like, I'm a whore, I'm a prostitute. And so when he found out that his boy was hitting that, he was so angry, to the point that they chose to frame him. You know, the guy, the innocent dude. And I said all that to say this. The person in your friend group who seem like the goody-goody, sometimes they not all that good. And I know that from my own experience. Recently, it was a girl, we have a mutual friend, and as I got to know her, I realized how fucked up of a person she is. Like, she steals, she brags about stealing, she, like, is into things that I just don't understand. Like, none of us are perfect, but she's on some other stuff. Like, but be careful of those type of people. Be careful of judgmental people. Be careful of people who portray themselves like they so perfect, because guess what? They got skeletons in their closet. And that's why I love this movie so much, because it's very unpredictable. You would never guess how it's supposed to end or whatever. And the one that's supposed to be the good guy, and he was judging them, saying, I don't cheat on my wife. But he wanted to cheat on his wife with this particular girl, and when she rejected him, he killed her. And in the end, he ends up killing himself, because that same friend, he finds out, like, he puts two and two together. He comes back to the loft, and he finds out he the one who put it for sale. Because as you're watching it, you're like, who could have done it? And then the thought does cross your mind, like, it gotta be one of them. But then it's like, it can't be one of them, because they all on the deed for the loft. Like, it was all their loft, but somebody sold it, and sure enough, it was him. It was Nerd Boy. And it was just sad the way it ended, because he told him, tell my wife and kids that I love them, and he falls down the high rise and lands on a car. So he's not Catwoman. He's dead. He's not coming back. So it really shows how infidelity could ruin friendships. Infidelity could ruin, because if they never would have had that loft, all that drama, it was premeditated extramarital affairs. The one that was sleeping with everybody people, he slept with one of the guy's little sisters. And then what got him heated is the guy, the instigator, the Nerd Boy, was like, oh, she was his first, or he was her first, I believe. So that's what really pissed off the dude, because it's like, this dude took her virginity. He took advantage of her, you know, and then he's married, and then he slept with the other guy's side chick. You know, he was just doing too much, you know, and so that's when they decide to come together and frame him. So they drugged him and put his body next to the girl. And so he's sitting up in an interrogation room, and they like, well, we got your fingerprints here and you must have killed her, da 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 da. He's like, no, they framed me. And they not believing him. It was crazy. And they was like, well, how can you prove? And then they like, all of them had tight alibis. The nerd boy and the other dude was at brunch. The other guy was with his father-in-law all day. Like, they all had tight alibis where other people was able to confirm where they was. He didn't have no tight alibi. And plus, they found his body next to the girl. So it was fucked up. But it also shows you how quick it is for people to turn against you too. Because, and it shows you how human psychology is. Like, there's very few loyal people in the world. And that's what it comes down to, like, loyalty. If a person is not loyal to their wife, they're not going to be loyal to you as a friend. Now, some men, they're able to be loyal friends in spite of whatever they do. But for the most part, you have to watch how people are, and they're not going to be loyal to you 9 times out of 10, right? For me, if you do the wrong thing, I'm not standing by your wrongness. I'm not. If you're wrong, you're wrong, and I'm going to make you be accountable for your wrongness. Other people, they'll stand behind it because that's their mentality. So to watch the brothers, not the brothers, but the friends, to see their friendship crumble, it wasn't shocking because what made them be friends was their childhood traumas. 2 of them were half brothers, and the guy that was violent, he was throwing it in his half brother face like, oh, you wasn't there for us, and da 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 da, because they thought it was him, because months prior to the incident, he had a girl that he kidnapped and raped. And so the shrink, which is the half brother, he gave the girl cash money and was telling her, yo, go to my friend that's a doctor. Like, he actually tried to help her out, and was telling the other guy that's not how you treat women. You know, he had real issues, and he was married also. So it's just a really good movie because it just shows the morals of people. It shows that, like I told you about Tyler Perry, they all have childhood traumas. All of them are only children. Their fathers, none of their fathers are in their life in And so what binds them together is that loneliness, is that lack of family. So they are their family, you know. So, and then with this, the loft, they do have siblings, but other childhood traumas that they've endured. And what bonded them together was infidelity. That's what made them friends. They all were successful white men that was like, you know what? We tired of going to hotels and getting caught. How about we just have this loft and it's ours? This is our loft. And, you know, if you want to bring a chick up here, you can. Or you have keys and, you know, just communicate with each other of when you want the space. And yeah, so. But the one who didn't cheat, that's supposed to be the good guy, he was the worst one out of all of them. And that's the part I love about the movie, because it just shows you how fake people could be. You know, they portray themselves as the good person in the group, and, oh, I don't drink and smoke, but sometimes the one who don't drink and smoke be the worst one in the group, for real, because they have other things about their character that's just so fucked up and disgusted. You know, so check it out, y'all. The Loft, it is very good. Just the concept of the movie, I think, was just so genius. And, you know, what would you do? What would you do if you found out that your husband had a loft with his 4 friends? You know, how would you respond to that? What would you do if you were married Joe Butterfucco? What would you do? Those are my thoughts.